Heavy tension on the Senate floor as bill to regulate herders' movement and the havoc they've been causing in Nigeria arrives National Assembly. Take a look at the argument between Senator Abaribe and other senators. This was a hot moment in Nigeria. Some of these senators do not want the Fulani herders to be controlled.
Why do you now tell herders to go back to their states of origin?
Is that what the bill says?
Excuse me. Excuse me. That's what he says. Now read. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Read the portion. Read the portion that says
the bill proposes that ranches be established in the pastoralist state of origin without forcing it upon other states or communities that do not have pastoralists as citizens.
Okay.
This is what he's saying.
Noted.
Now, please, my friend Zam, understand that this is not in consonance with our constitution. Your bill is good. I like this bill, but this aspect should be removed. We should remove it, or we should. I advise him, he's my friend. I said it's nice for him to step it down. I advise my friend Senator Zam to step this bill down for more consultation, for better, drafting, so that it will go in consonance with our constitution. But leaving it the way it is now, look, Mr. President, I'll tell you some of these Fulanis. If you ask them where they are state of religion, they even forgot. They look at themselves as Nigerians. We should address the issue to reflect wherever someone is his place, and he can do his business there. So, Mr. President, I advise that this bill should be stepped down for further consultations. Here,
I will.
Brought this bill. Senator Sam is a very eloquent speaker and someone I admire so much. But you cannot be perfect in everything. Obviously, there's a snag in this bill. There's a problem in this bill. And because you really cannot stop anyone, any Nigerian, from living in any area that he so wishes. The relevant section of the Constitution has been read. I saw something just a few days ago. Senator Natasha paid a visit to a Fulani settlement in our senatorial zone. Those people do not have any home except that place. They've been there for so long. They've been part and parcel of that society. Now to tell them to move to their state of origin. Where is their state of origin? Where is their state of origin? Now, for us as political leaders, the political class, I would like you to look at that. Who is the current senator of FCT? She is a Yoruba native. She's a Yoruba person, but she has won election here in FCT. Nobody told her to go back to her state. I, for one, I won my election in Tarauni constituency, my first election to come to the National Assembly in 1999, from Kano Central, but I'm from Kano North. Nobody told me to go back to Kano North. So,
for drawing our attention to a very critical part of our national life that is leading to a disintegration of our lives through the incessant herder-farmer clash, destruction of plants and all that by those. And indeed, that has also led to the invasion of Nigeria by those who call themselves herders but are not Nigerian citizens. I recall, as a member of this Senate, that this bill at a particular time was also introduced on the floor of this Senate by Senator Kwankwaso. I recall also the problem that was following the debate, and that problem is what we will need to tackle if we have to get to the nitty-gritty of this bill. while I agree that now is the time for us to stop open grazing, it also means that this is also the time for us to take another look at the law that makes land to be in the hands of states. Because there's no way you are going to be able to establish a ranch in a state if the state government says that they don't want it. I'm glad that Senator Zam has said that those who are sedentary, in states of origin of the herders, should be able to establish ranches. And of course, he has also given us the costing. But in order to do this, we must go back and look at the law. Because if we don't deal with that law, merely asking people to go, if they want to establish ranch, to now go and talk with those. No one owns land. It's the state governments that own land. That means that even if you agree with the owners or settlers or a community or that, if the state government does not give its consent, then it means that you will not be able to go forward with it. So as we consider this, I also want us to look at the Land Use Act as an impediment to this particular very wonderful bill, to ensure that we can get and put to rest this matter of herder-farmer clash. And I can see why. And I want to also recall to all my colleagues that at a particular time, the former governor of Kano State, Ganduje, suggested to everyone that he has enough land in Kano State for all the herders in Nigeria to come and graze. But of course, what happened is that some people are using these herders and all that to destabilize this country. Just 2 weeks ago, I was at home in my own local government in Obingwa, far down in the southern part of Nigeria, in Abia State. Some women came to me and said that the herders were bringing their cows to finish up all their planted, and that there's nothing they can do. That even when they come there, they will threaten them that they are going to kill and maim, and there's nothing they can do about it. They wanted for me to do something about it. So I had to go to the local government chairman and said, let's go and see the DPO and they had to go to plead with those herders. That is the extent to which this has reached. Everyone in Nigeria, if you go from the west to the coast, all the way up to the middle belt, and you go up to the north, farmers are under threat. And what it has led to is the food crisis that we have today. So I support this bill, and I say, as we consider it, let us also look at all the elements that will make us bring out a bill that will be for the interests of Nigeria.
I will appreciate my colleagues just noting that this issues was discussed just a few weeks ago, and today it has reached the second reading. I think we must be commended. This issue, I believe, if we handle it with all the seriousness that is deserved, we will begin to see respite in the farmers-herders clashes. But, distinguished Senate President, please, we should expand the role of the Commission, not only as at establishing ranches. There is need for extension services. There is need for bringing better breeds of cattle. An average cattle of a pastoral Fulani man gives you less than 1 liter of milk a day. as against 30 liters of the hybrid cattle. And this must be taken into consideration if we are going to make it a source of livelihood. Because as it is today, it's just a way of life, not necessarily livelihood for these people. So this is highly commendable, sir. And we need to emphasize, apart, what are the conditions that will give private ranching also the help they needed to go ahead. As you know, everybody is trying to run away from government-funded companies because they are not always being very well managed. We need to consider a way and manner for which private ranchers will be accessed to this commission, and they will get their necessary help for them to expand and establish ranches. Thank you very much, the Senate President. This is a wonderful
deal at this time. Mr. President, you know, about 2 weeks ago, you handled something similar to this in a motion, where we call for a national summit. We all know that this is a national problem. It is not just a state problem. It's a problem that is ravaging all over our nation. And we cannot just sit down as responsible parliamentarians without finding a solution to it. Thank you for your able leadership, sir. First of all, in the north, we used to have a cattle route with open grazing those days. Those cattle routes, they have been taken over by communities. And now, no cattle routes. The cattle, they are all over the place. You will even see them on Abuja Street. You see them all over the place. They enter people's land, farmland, and causing problems all over the country. This bill must be allowed to have its place. We are going to consider this bill appropriately. It's not, all states must be ready to have cattle ranch. You know, the last government, they set up something that they called Rugard. And they gave, some states said they wouldn't go with it. And they rejected it. But when this bill is passed into law, by the time we are doing the public hearings, sir, we are going to invite stakeholders all over the country to ensure that we treat this issue as a national problem. So that all these killings going on all over the place in the name of cattle ranching, in the name of kidnapping, we are going to find a solution to it. We cannot continue like this. This is a responsible government. This government has started well. Previous government, they've not been able to find solution to it. I believe the leadership of National Assembly, headed by you, and the leadership of this country, headed by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will find a solution to this problem. We are going to start with this bill.
That before we can go into the clause-by-clause consideration of the bill, that we must have a public hearing. We must bring in all the stakeholders, the Farmers Association, the Mitiala, and then we must bring in the state governments and all the stakeholders so that everybody will have a say. And we must have a holistic discussion on this. And then also, like Senator the civil Senator Abaribe pointed out, if there is need to tinker with the Constitution in terms of the Land Use Act, which is in the Constitution, to enable us create a clause that will allow easy access to land for ranching, we should do so. And then we should also know that many people may not have money to go into ranching. And it's something that we should do gradually. But whatever it is, when we go into the major issue of discussing it at the public hearing, we'll get to the we'll get more information and get stakeholders' opinions. Distinguished Senator Goje.
National issue. And this bill happens to come from a senator from Benue State. Benue State is one of the states that we had series of clashes and hostilities regarding the farmers' herders issue. But I want to urge our colleagues and Nigerians generally to approach this issue of cattle ranching in good faith. It should not be seen as an issue that's going to be thrown away to some particular states because the Fulanis happen to come from those states. Because in the debate, the submission of the promoter of this bill, he said that the ranches can only be made from the states where the owners of the cows come from. I know what he's trying to do. We can't do it that way. Well, these Fulanis are Nigerians. They don't even benefit anything from government. They don't enjoy schools. They don't enjoy hospitals. They don't enjoy any roads. All the housing programs done by government, and they don't enjoy them, nothing. So to just throw them away like that because they happen to come from they are assumed to have come from states that may not have even enough water, enough grazing area. And you say you can only be done in that state. I think it's not going to work. If we want to solve this problem, which is a national issue, we should approach it with open mind. Where you have enough land, where you have land that can serve as cattle ranch, with water and enough grasses and other food for the animals, we should be magnanimous enough and realistic enough to encourage and in fact support the establishment of ranches in those areas. But to confine them to one area it will not solve the problem. So what I said, we must approach this matter in good faith. But to say, because I know if you say that you only want to do it in areas, maybe there are very few states in Nigeria that will be willing, that Fulani can claim to have come. But they are Nigerians. So, of course, if you go to Oyo State or even Ogun State or even Abia, you get Fulanis who speak Igbos, Fulani who speak Yorubas, who don't do anywhere outside those areas. What do you tell them? Because they are not indigenous to that place, they don't deserve any rights in that place? No, I disagree. So please, my colleagues and Nigerians, if we want to solve this problem, we should solve it frontally. Secondly, some weeks ago, we discussed this issue, a similar issue like this, and we even set up an ad hoc committee to come up with recommendations on the establishment of grazing areas. I think this being the case, we need to take a position, either to harmonize these two issues so that we don't have to continue discussing. Let's do it once and for all. The ad hoc committee and this issue we are discussing, I believe, in my opinion, should be harmonized so that we solve this problem once and for all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Actually, law, it has to apply nationally. For instance, if you go between Umuahia and Enugu on that route, you will see a large population of pastoralists. They have a place there where people come to buy cows and all that. The meat is needed by the whole country. So establishing ranches cannot be limited to a section as if they are the ones that eat the meat alone. If we are trying to solve a problem, we must look at it holistically, and the whole country must be involved. That is where we come in terms of lawmaking, so that we make it almost mandatory for every state to have one. So we can do that when it is time for us to look at the nitty-gritty, so that it's not something you push to a particular area, because everybody needs this meat. Senator Kawu?
Mr. President,
cows are not citizens of Nigeria.
So, Mr. President, cows are not citizens of Nigeria.
You didn't hear what I said. Senator Nehru, are you arguing with me?
No,
I said cows are not citizens. The section you are referring to is talking about citizens of Nigeria.
Yes.
And cows are not citizens of Nigeria. Cows can come in from Niger, they can come in from Chad, anywhere. But cows are not citizens.
Wrong.
So your point of order is noted, but rejected. You want to make contribution on the debate? Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm against the idea of restricting movement of Nigerians from one state to another.
No, that would not happen.
Right now, citizens of Nigeria are allowed to move from one state to another to establish business without any hindrance whatsoever.
It affects everywhere in Nigeria.
Yes.
Nobody can restrict
pastoralists
movement.
and citizens of Nigeria, they can move to North Central, Northwest, Northeast, South, and establish their business without...
They can do so, but not with AK-47.
Yeah. No. I'm not talking about criminals.
You don't understand.
Yes.
You just noticed something. I'm saying that we are going to do a portion that says that brings about restriction. So, and I want to refer that to Senator Sam. He has to delete that part. So let's not deviate from the debate. Debate.
Let me conclude my contribution. Let me conclude, please. It's a private business. Government has no business going into ranching. Even the cattle route, which Senator Karimi mentioned, used to be the practice when we had 19 northern states, it's one state under northern Nigeria. But then that was the time when we had cattle route, beginning from maybe from Sokoto up to Lokoja. But now, the states have been balkanized into 19 states. Northern Nigeria has been balkanized into 19 states. And each state has control of its land. So you cannot really bring the issue of cattle route for now. It is not applicable at all because it touches on the territorial integrity of some states. Some states will not allow it. So ranching should be seen as a business, and government has no business going into it. And perhaps when we go to the public hearing, this will become very, very clear. So I rest my case, Mr. President.
Thank you. And the civil service for the whole country, or are you proposing a bill for some states? Please go back to your seat. You can only talk from your seat. You can't talk from here.
Guide it.
Proceed. Read Order 42.
Order 42 says, by the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President, a senator may make a personal explanation, although there may be no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise upon explanation. The terms of the proposed...
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. What I'm saying... no, is to support that.
The Senator Lalong.
Yes.
He says that the senator will have. Let's look at that Order 42 again.
Sir.
So let's see.
You've agreed that I wanted to guide this honorable Senate that this matter I have been part of this agitation for a very long time. But I will be surprised that up to now, we don't know some of the impediments towards realizing issues to curb farmers-herders clashes. Apart from the Constitution, like Senator Alero said, the ECOWAS protocol is part of the problem that we have. You can quote the Constitution, but what about the ECOWAS protocol? It allows you to move anywhere with your business. It allows you to move anywhere with your cows. So in getting towards realizing this, you must be very conscious of your laws in the nation, because you are not making a law for your state. You are making a law for the federation. The National Livestock Production Scheme was introduced under the Vice President. Everything was packaged, but some states refused. Some states even refused ranches. So this matter requires good consideration. I agree with the bill, but then we need to be very careful in getting towards even the second debate, so that we have a community of opinions, we have consensus on how to go about it. That will be also, yes, I said it, it has to also go out to the West African neighbors. Otherwise, you will say you don't want them to come in. They will also say they will not want you to go into their own environment. And that is the information I wanted to put, Mr. President, sir.
Thank you. Oh, Senator Kawu?
Yes, sir.
After you,
yes,
no more debates.
Okay, thank you, sir. Representing Kano South Senatorial District, Mr. President from Kano. Mr. President, quite all right, I listened to the mover of this bill attentively. And from my understanding, and from what I believe, and from what is in our hand, between the content of his debate and the bill, there is serious contradiction. And the content of his lead debate, or what he presented to the Senate today, totally is against Nigerian constitution, which we are practicing now. Mr. President, this is a very sensitive and serious matter. It is very sensitive and serious matters. It's beyond most of our thinking. I align myself with your position. You talk as a leader, and what you propose to us, I think, is a solution of this problem. It is a constitutional representation. We are representing people, and based on the constitution of Nigeria, I am totally against this bill, and it will not resolve the current challenges we are facing. It will compound our problem. You cannot in any way make a law for a particular section to protect some part of the country. Mr. President, I repeat it, I align myself with your position, and I am advising the leadership of this Senate. I am advising the leadership of this Senate, based on what you propose to us, based on your ideas, based on your experience. You are part of the and parcel of the leadership of this country for over almost 3 decades. Let the leadership come up with something very comprehensive, which protect the interests of each and every person in Nigeria. But going by this bill, it will compound our crisis in Nigeria. Some people close their eyes on what is going on, or what lead herders to go against farmers. There is so many issues which we need to attend. Mr. President, we used to see where herders and their cattle are pursuing, killing them, destroying their property from some part of the country, which is against the constitution. We cannot resolve this issue if we are sentimental. We need to be serious. We need to know that we are doing representation, and most of this issue is to do with the constitution. And if we are altering the constitution or amending the constitution, we need the consent of each and every person in Nigeria. I commend your foresight, and I align myself with some of the submission of Senator Steve, too, from North Central. But actually, Mr. President, the lead debate or this bill, in line with what he proposed to us, it is contrary against the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and we are not going to support it. We will fight it to the end, Mr. President. Thank you.
Yeah.
to be very circumspect in our attitude to this lead debate, because the issue of ranching, cattle routes, and the rest of them have been in the front burner of national discourse in this country. Mr. President, I want to say here that the Constitution is not only made for one person, and that in contributing to debates of this nature, we must put national interest in focus. What we are witnessing here in the second reading of this bill is a fulfillment of one of the procedural requirements of lawmaking. There are other levels. We have the public hearing that will come, that will bring out the details of the law, where everybody will be invited to make contributions. We have not reached that stage. We also have a presidential assent that is required. We have not reached that stage. So I think that having agreed that this bill is very important and germane to our national situation now, I think that even those who are complaining about certain sections of the lead debate concede that they are not opposed to the bill. I therefore want to suggest that we allowed the second reading of this bill to be committed to the relevant committees and for public hearing to be conducted, where all relevant stakeholders will be invited for them to make their contributions. At the end of the day, we'll get a bill that will make a law that will be acceptable to all Nigerians. I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Babangida, you have a point of order. But just before then, let me correct myself. When I said that cows are not citizens, I may be right in that regard. But what the Constitution is talking about is movement of persons and properties. And therefore, that is corrected. So cows are properties owned by citizens, and they have a right to be moved from one point to the other. So, Senator Babangida, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, the Senate President and the Chair of the session. I'm Senator Babangida, who sees Fulani farmer conflict in Journal of Humanitarian and Social Services, Volume 8, Number 1 of 2020, dealing with the issue of Fulani farmer-herder clashes. The dimension to the crisis, Mr. President, has a lot of multifarious issues around it. And I think it is better for us to look at it from those dimensions. If we confine it to just movement, movement cannot be enforced constitutionally because we have so many protocols. I refer to what distinguished Senator Lalong said regarding the ECOWAS protocol for free movement of goods and services within the West African sub-region. Secondly, we have the constitutional freedom for people to move from one place to the other without let or hindrance. Thirdly, and most importantly, the universal human rights has given everybody the right to move around. But the criminality around the pastoral herder conflict is the issue we should isolate and deal with. And I think this same Senate had approved a national conference to discuss extensively on the issue and proffer solutions so that we can move forward to avoid these problems. So I remember Senator Karimi, who was with me, had started consulting and engaging prominent Nigerians who have insight and knowledge on this problem to partake and to contribute to this discussion. So I think let us be open-minded about this. We are Nigerians, and we should not make any law that will affect one part of Nigeria to the detriment of another part of Nigeria. All of us here have a stake in this country, and we must all work together to make peace and to make sure that this issue is brought to the fore. I have no issue with the bill. The bill is well intended, but there are so many dimensions that we have to look at before we can arrive and bring about an acceptable law that will deal with the issue of the criminalities around the Fulani farmer-herder conflicts. I thank you so much for the opportunity, Senate President. Thank you, sir.
So, Senator
So, guys, it is becoming very obvious that some of the senators from the northern parts of Nigeria do not want these Fulani herders, who have been, termed to be terrorists. They don't want their movement to be checkmated. And you can see their argument that they are into legitimate businesses and that their businesses should not be, destroyed. But we've seen the havoc these people have caused across Nigeria. So many people cannot go to their farms today because of these herders. They threaten people. They tell you can do nothing. And they do whatever they do and they go make away with it. Nobody is being prosecuted. Nobody is being held. And honestly, this is the right time. Now that it is no longer a northerner that is the president of Nigeria, now is the right time to checkmate these people. Now is the right time to bring some of their actions to a stop because they've caused a whole lot of havoc in this country. I think this bill should pass. So you can imagine the senators are vowing that this bill can never pass in their presence, and one keeps wondering which way Nigeria. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Thank you.